Judge!
Hey, what's up?
I have a question.
Yeah, shoot.
What is your favorite Magic the Gathering finance-focused podcast?
It's a toss-up, but right now, I'm probably leaning Brainstorm Brewery.
There you have it, everybody. Welcome, everybody, to a very special episode of Brainstorm Brewery. This is episode 337. That is 337 too many. This is Douglas Johnson here. Everybody calls me DJ. We got Jason Alt here cracking open a cold one. And our guest, Max Kahn. Tell us, everybody.
Kahn!
That was really creative, Jason. I haven't heard that one before.
You're too young to have heard that one before.
I actually went to the Star Trek Museum in Seattle during the last Grand Prix Seattle, and there was a whole exhibit on it, and I learned what it meant at the museum because I hadn't really heard of it before.
Oh, so, wow.
Hear that, Jason? Yeah. He learned about your joke at a museum. Do you feel old yet?
I mean, that movie came out before I was born, so why would I feel old? Actually, maybe it didn't.
I don't know what movie you're referring to, so that should make you feel old.
Star Trek 2, dog. Wrath of Khan. 82. It is older than me, so suck it! That's back when Ricardo Montalban was still alive.
And that's the focus of this podcast. Star Trek, con stuff, all of that in this podcast. Hey, Magic the Gathering finance, hey Max, information.
What's your favorite Magic the Gathering set? Is it Cons of Dark here?
This is gonna
be a long night.
He's gonna leave this Skype call, Jason, and it'll be your fault. Everybody knows how awkward it is when just you and I cast alone. We don't want that. Please don't leave, Max. We had War of the Spark this past weekend. We had some pre-release stuff going on. We had some arena release of the set. I got to draft a sweet mono green deck, and then I just only went 3-2 with it because I got mana screwed. So I'm a little salty about this set. But Jason, how did you do with the pre-release?
I drafted a deck that was so good it could only lose to its own mana base, which it promptly did. Which knocked me out of X and O, so I couldn't get the playmat for being a Champio.
Champio?
Yeah, so that's what happens. My when I play limited, my deck poops on me.
And you only lose to the person who's never played a pre-release before, right?
Oh man, if you're playing an unsleeved deck with 50 cards in it, that's my kryptonite. My deck will just shit on itself. It's always this like some 12-year-old is like, it's my first pre-release. He's playing unsleeved and he just like turn 5 plays a fusion elemental and I'm like, well, Magic's hard.
Or they're playing like the pre-release foil $50 god that's just completely unsleeved and they don't even know that it's good. And
hey, that's my jam. Don't mess with $50 unsleeved cards. That's my territory, man.
They don't even know what the card does. You have to tell them how good their god is. It dies and you're like, oh wait, you get to put that back in your deck if you want.
Hey, Max?
Yeah?
Who's your favorite 1970s musician from the disco era?
God damn it, Jason.
Is it Chaka Khan?
The only upside to this bit is that you will progressively get references he's never heard.
So I've heard of Shaka Khan.
Have you?
Because people ask if we're related.
You look like you
I also
be.
get, what's your favorite Planeswalker? Sarkhan the Max.
Ooh.
That's both. That's a twofer.
Nice. That's a good one. I was going to get there eventually. I was going to say Sarkhan next, but fine. Preempt me. You know what? Maybe I'll just drop the whole bit. So,
please do.
What do you want to talk about?
I've got a breaking bulk to start us off. If everybody wants to get that out of the way real quick.
Breaking bulk time. Breaking bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, Breaking Bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking Bulk. The end.
Sure.
I have a Darksteel Uncommon that was reprinted in Plane Chase. And it's an artifact, of course. It kind of goes without saying.
Darksteel Ingot?
Darksteel Pendant.
Nope.
Uncommon or common?
Uncommon.
Oh,
Darksteel Ingot is not it. It's a good guess, though. Actually, Corbin picked that one recently.
Darksteel Ingot has been printed approximately 300 times.
Yeah, this has one reprint. One reprint in Plane Chase. That is it. No other reprints.
Is it Illusionary Mask?
No.
Not Illusionary Mask?
Is that a Darksteel card?
Oh no, what am I thinking of? The mask.
I was like, that's some ancient ass fucking.
No. What's the mask?
Is it
from
Lightning
Darksteel?
Greaves, or did that have like 100
No, that
reprints?
has
to it?
100.
Lightning Greaves is mirrored in, and it has 1.5 billion reprints. This is Darksteel only. It's an artifact creature.
Oh, okay.
It is 4 mana, narrowing it down a little bit.
Oh.
Is it a mirror?
Nope. The artist is Michael Sutphin.
Oh. Well,
Oh, yeah, now I know
no,
it.
yeah,
Thanks.
thanks for narrowing it down.
He,
Wow.
whenever another artifact enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on
Is it? Oh man, I
I'm
don't know.
not convinced this is a real card.
Arcbound Crusher.
Okay.
Sure.
This card is $1 approximately for the Plane Chase printing, just because Plane Chase printings are a little bit hard to find in the Darksteel printing.
But why would you prefer the
Darksteel-
plane chase printing?
I would personally think that because they're newer, so they're easier to find in near mint condition, and they're also harder to restock for stores. So when stores do restock them, they tend to just restock them at the older price. They just update it to that.
Well, also aesthetically, doesn't Darksteel, for all of the mirrored in black, doesn't it have that like lighter artifact printing that looks almost white that people don't really like?
That's true. I can see that.
That is a good point. And I didn't like how they when there's a colored mana in the card, they left it uncolored.
Yeah.
Yep. But this gets very big in multiplayer very quickly, just because it does not specify under your control. So every Soul Ring, every Falwar Stone, every Signet, every Darksteel Citadel, every Phyrexian Metamorph just pumps this guy up real big, and then he's got modulars. So if you got a Brea sitting around there, if you got some other sort of artifact commander or some sort of Ink Moth Nexus sitting around, somebody's gonna die. So it's also got Trample just in case it gets really big. So this is you don't find it too often, and when you find the Darksteel ones, they're generally HP because that's how people played that deck back in the day.
So it's Arcbound Mauler, basically. You know, like Tauren Mauler, sort of.
Yeah, kinda. It's just it's a 4 mana dude just slapped down there. When you untap with it, you're like, oh hey, I got a 15/15. Let's make some stuff happen.
So it's a buck. All right, cool.
Yep.
I got one. It was printed in Urza's Hammer, because I know that if I said the set, you'd be like, what?
I know the Urza sets. Corbin doesn't.
Oh, that's true.
Urza's Hammer is Urza's Legacy.
Yeah, so it's printed in Urza's Legacy, and then it has a Master Set reprinting. It is a blue common.
Miscalculation?
Miscalculation didn't get reprinted.
I don't think that one has a Master Set reprinting. Aura Flux didn't get a reprint.
Does it have cycling?
No.
Urza's Legacy blue common.
Yeah, you're gonna feel real dumb.
Rebuild didn't get a reprint.
That's uncommon.
I'm empty.
And it has
Yeah.
cycling.
I'm blanking. You said it didn't have cycling.
Yeah, I know. That's 2 reasons why Rebuild couldn't be it.
Oh, you're right.
Frantic Search.
Oh.
Oh, duh. Sure.
Yeah.
It's, it's near its bottom. The Master Set, the Ultimate Masters reprinting kind of hurt the price a little bit, but like, it's Ultimate
I forgot
Masters.
that got a Masters set reprint. I was thinking like Modern Masters 1, 2, 3, but
And Ultimate Masters didn't get bought all that much, so it didn't really add that many copies. It is common, but like, how many Urza's Legacy commons are there out there really? So this is...
I don't think the statement that not a lot of Ultimate Masters got bought is true. A lot of that set got bought. A lot of it got printed, but a lot of it got bought.
Sure, but was it as popular as, say, Modern Masters 17 or Eternal Masters?
I think so. I think Box Hoppers pushed it over the edge there.
Maybe. I don't know how it was printed in relation to other Master sets, but we're seeing stuff in other... like, Kadama's Reach is a buck, That's been printed way more, so, like, this has a ton of
But
upside.
not recently, though.
Kadama's Reach was...
When Kadama's Reach was, like, fresh out of its Masters printing, it was dirt cheap.
Kadama's Reach was
that-
also in Ultimate Masters.
Yeah, that one had multiple Masters reprints, because it was definitely in the original Modern Masters, too.
Yep. So, I mean, this is... this is below 50 cents right now. I think you just yank all these out of bulk. Yeah, I was finding these in Draft Chaff. Like, this is not a card that you bulk out for sure. So rescue these from their bulky prison, and this will be 50 cents pretty soon.
Hi, I'm Corbin, and I'm going to suggest that you frantically search for them. Yeah, that's my joke of the week.
It's better than any of the jokes that Jason's made today, so you're onto something.
That is objectively not true. You take that back.
All right, so it's my turn now?
Yep.
All right, I've got a card from a supplemental set, but I'm afraid if I give it away, then you'll know what it is. So it's a supplemental set from the last 5 years or so, and it's a white uncommon.
Is that the first printing of the card?
Yeah, the first printing was in a non-standard legal set, and it's a white uncommon.
Standard legal set.
Non-standard legal.
Oh, Darksteel Bug, Darksteel Mutation.
No.
Damn it.
Common or uncommon?
It's a white uncommon creature.
Oh, a white uncommon creature, okay. Angel of Finality?
No.
Isn't that rare?
Isn't that a rare?
No, that's, is it, oh, what am I thinking of?
That's one that exiles cards from graveyards, yeah?
I think I got Illusionary Angel and that mixed up, or Illusory Angel.
Illusory?
Sure.
Illusory Angel's blue.
I know, I thought like that's rarity was Angel of Finality.
Okay.
I was like thinking of Angel of Finality with the blue one's rarity.
Man, I'm probably not going to get this.
Yeah, I'm on a bad week here.
All right, it's from a conspiracy set.
Oh, Palace Jailer.
Palace Jailer.
Yeah.
So the card was 25 to 50 cents its entire lifetime. In the last 6 to 8 months, it's crept up to $1 or so. Now it's up to $4.
Because it gets played in Death and Taxes.
Yeah, Death and Taxes and the Blue-White Stoneblades are starting to play it. Yeah. And this card's probably not getting reprinted soon because like it's multiplayer focused. You need a set with Monarch in it. So this is a card that I believe...
They give it a Judge promo.
Oh, gross. I don't know about that one because it was printed in a set that came in foil originally. Those foils are super expensive now too.
Yeah, that's why they'll give it a Judge promo to kill the foil value.
So that is definitely a $4 card that you're going to see in bulk.
Yeah, everything in Conspiracy 2 has jumped lately. Like we have $40 Selvalas, $800 Expropriates, just everything in that set except for Leovold, which is the funny part. If you open a foil Leovold now, you're sad. You're just sad.
Yeah, actually, I don't think this is a bad transition into one of the topics we wanted to discuss with Max. The reason we brought a Magic Judge on is to talk about Magic Judge stuff, and one of the Magic Judge things are the Judge foil promos that they give the judges as part of the Exemplar program.
Yeah, so Judge promos back in the day used to be part of Grand Prix compensation. As like a thank you for judging at a Grand Prix, you would get a packet of foils. But there were some not super legal tax things going on there where some states were like, hey, you can't pay these people in foils, so they pay us actual money now. But in order to compensate for that, we get foils in other ways. So there's two ways pretty much that judges can get foils now. The first one is the Exemplar program. If you haven't heard of it, it's basically a way for judges to recognize other judges that are doing good things in the community. So whether that's like helping out at a pre-release unexpectedly, or dealt with a really tense situation, or presented at a judge conference and like shared their slides with you or something. Those are things that go above and beyond the expectations of the average judge. So judges can get recognized for that, and you get promos based on the number of recognitions that you get. And the other way you can get judge promos nowadays is to attend judge conferences. Those are open to any certified judge, and every region has a bunch of them each year. And those are basically at the same pace of the Exemplar promos. So whatever promos you could get in an Exemplar packet in a certain wave is what they're called, are likely going to be the conference foils that you get as well. So each year, for the last couple of years, they've done 8 judge foils each year, and they come out in waves of 2. So every 3 months they release 2 more, and each packet that you get for the wave is the 2 most recent ones and the 2 from the wave before it.
I see.
Yeah,
the only
we
reason
should ask you a question instead of just mentioning that those are a thing.
Well, I mean, the only reason I know what judge promos come out is because I tend to see them at GPs, and judges bring them up to me and ask me to buy them. So I know that Ristic Study got one, and it has Magic Man Sam Ristic Studies on it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, Ristic Studies is one of the new ones. Food Chain, I believe, was the one that was paired with that. Other recent ones, yeah, Protection, Vampiric Tutor came out pretty recently. Nin the Pain Artist.
Awful though.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. And Imperial Seal was a promo last year, so just like having two judge promos that are basically the same thing, but one's a sorcery and one's an instant is a little weird. But
I mean,
I don't choose
the
the
people that
promos.
play, one of them in EDH are going to play both, and Seal is got a different kind of legality. So I don't know.
Oh, should
Yeah.
I get an HP Imperial Seal for Gonti? I gotta find an Portal Three Kingdoms Imperial Seal now.
One of the jokes about judge promos that's been coming out is basically like whenever something gets announced as a judge promo, you know it's going to be in the next Masters set. And obviously that's not true, but there's been a couple examples where like Shardless Agent came out as a judge promo and everyone was so excited. It was the first time printing in foil, and then 2 months later in Eternal Masters, it was just same art, pack foil. So like, I don't know. There's been a little bit of Caracas is another example of that. So there's been a little bit of a disappointment lately in we don't want these cards to be judge foils because then we know that their value is just going to get crushed in the next master set when they get like a mass reprinting. So a lot of judges just try to sell their foils immediately when they get it.
I mean, Ristic Studies, Modern Horizons.
Yeah, who knows?
Did it.
On a unrelated note, I have a couple of Ristic Studies if anybody would like that. So.
I mean, I need to stop buying cards for my own decks. That's what I need to do.
Getting high off your own supply, Jason.
Why don't you go buy another bent card?
So, I mean, for those of listeners who are interested in being a judge or have never really considered it but now might want to, how did you become a judge? Like, what's the path for you? I assume you had your mom drive you to the local testing facility and you filled in a Scantron, all that stuff.
So that's not untrue. I certified when I was 15, so I didn't drive myself places. But like there's a lot of reasons why you'd want to be a judge. I mean, some people just like want to do it to help out the community, their local store.
I like
doesn't have a
judging
judge.
people. Is that a thing you
Yeah,
can do?
if you like judging people, then this is a way to do that, I guess, but I wouldn't recommend it. A lot of people honestly say that they want to be a judge for the cool swag. Like you get the judge promos if you do exemplary things. Every Magic Fest you get a gift. Like here's some Magic Judge sunglasses for you on the video podcast, or behind me I've got a Magic beach towel. So like they give you cool Magic swag related things. Other people want to do it just to become more involved or showcase their rules knowledge.
That sounds like they're being real subtle. They're like, oh god, all these judges are pale and unattractive. Let's subtly tell them they should go to the beach. It's gonna be like a shovel and pail next year, and you're gonna be like, all right, I get it.
I don't remember the exact Grand Prix that it was, but they didn't line up the gifts correctly. Like we got a cool mug, but that was not the Seattle Grand Prix. And the beach towel, I'm pretty sure was not Orlando. Those might have been flipped, or there was something else. But
hey, Toronto, here's your beach towel.
Yeah, honestly,
they have a beach. You can lay by the water, look at Detroit. It's a good time.
So yeah, there's not a lot of bad reasons to be a judge.
Right. I mean, I used to want to be a judge back when I was a competitive player, in order to understand the rules better and increase my my skills inside the game.
For sure. And that's not to say that you can't be a judge. There's a lot of competitive players that study the IPG, the Infraction Procedure Guide, which is what we use to fix things at competitive REL tournaments, not necessarily because they want to be a judge, but just to make sure that if they get a looking at extra cards versus a hidden card error, that whichever judge is fixing is doing it correctly, and they should know if they should appeal at that point.
Well, I don't think anybody knew the rules better than Alex Bertoncini, who was getting his warnings downgraded to caution so they didn't accumulate, stuff like that. Knowing those sort of tricks, I think really helped him get away with some shit for a long time.
Yeah, that's a topic I'm not going to comment on because there are judges on both sides of that, and I don't want to.
Well, I'm not saying a judge made a mistake there necessarily. It just seemed like he was gaming, which is what gamers do. And,
one of the comments was, I forget what Grand Prix it was. Maybe it was, thinking it was GPLA last year, but I'm not 100% sure. It was the one that Bertoncini ended up in the top 8. And I saw a lot of comments on Twitter that's like, oh, well, if Bertoncini's in the top 8, evidently judges aren't doing their job well enough. And like
Yeah.
the thing that people don't realize, like Bertoncini is a practiced cheater. So like not only is he like trying to like deceive his opponents so that they don't realize what's going on, he presumably practiced cheating judges as well.
He does shit
based
on
the word
camera.
that he
That
used
takes a
and-
degree of confidence and practice. That
Right. So it's not necessarily that like the judges are stupid, because there's people DQ'd from almost every Grand Prix for either lying to a judge or for cheating. But the people that practice can get away with things. Not that I'm advocating cheating. Get that.
no,
Get that
I mean
out of the way.
you're advocating knowing what cheaters are up to so you can catch them because that's your job.
Right. And that's like one of the skills you learn like at a judge conference, for example. Even if you're not a judge, you in the most case can attend a judge conference, even if you're just curious about like what judges talk about, what judges are learning about. There's presentations on rules, on policy, on customer service, on diplomacy. And one of the best judge conferences I ever attended, there was a presentation on how to catch a cheater and what signs to look for if players are being suspicious. And that taught me a lot about how to like pick up and how to have a sixth sense about these kinds of things.
That's cool. I'm sure that helps you outside of Magic, the Magic sphere too.
Yeah, when my friends are cheating in Monopoly by stealing from the bank, like, I got it on lock.
Why would you
So, I
play
mean, if
Monopoly with your
somebody's,
friends though?
So
My
if
friends
somebody's
aren't
playing,
really big.
starting on ground zero, like where do they, like, they're like, I want to be a judge. I don't know what to Google or who to talk to. What is their step one?
Sure. So step one is finding a local level 2 in your region. Level 2 judges are the judges that are going to be head judging or floor judging at your Mythic Championship qualifiers. They're going to be the people that used to do your old PPTQs, any competitive level event. For the most part, I'm not calling out a specific local game store hosting an MCQ, is going to be run by certified Magic judges that are typically level 2 if it's going to be a competitive event. So talk to one of those people. If you can't find a local level 2, you can Google Judge Regional Coordinator. The world is split up into some number of judge regions, each one run by a higher level judge, and they will be able to connect you with a level 2. Once you've talked to them about your goals in the program, they'll have you run a couple of events with them just to see what your customer service skills are like, what you're like answering judge calls, and then you take an exam. And if you get, I believe it's a 70% passing score, it could be 80% passing score, then you are a certified judge.
What is the exam like? Like how
So the exam-
how tough are the questions?
So the exam is, for level 1s, the exam is only focused on regular REL. So that's your things like Friday Night Magic and Prerelease. So it's not going to ask you any questions about competitive rules of enforcement level, like how to apply hidden card errors or game rule violations. So it's basically going to be, I believe it's 2/3 of it is rules questions, just based on like what are your interactions with, like Tarmogoyf Lightning Bolt stuff, or some light like layers on the cards, switching power and toughness things. And then the last third is regular REL policy. So a player, for example, goes to the bathroom and shows up 8 minutes late into the round. What do you do at a Friday Night Magic? Or a player is cheating at a Friday Night Magic. Like, what do you do? So there's some documents there, like the judging at regular document, that are really going to help inform that latter half. And then the first 2/3 of it, if you are a competitive Magic player and have been around the scene for a while, most of the rules interactions, not all of them, but most of them are going to be pretty familiar to you.
Yep. Yeah, I remember when I did want to become a judge and I was taking those practice exams over and over, I realized that a very significant portion of the practice test was just very detailed reading comprehension.
Mm-hmm.
Where just one tiny little word or one little phrase or one specific instance of just not reading the question wrong was just a lot of, not misdirection, but just intentionally just trying to get you to read the question completely and thoroughly, and then it's pretty obvious stuff.
Right. So like one of the questions is not that it's on every exam, but like one of the common things that they're going to ask you about is like time limits for events. And most people know that a round at a competitive Magic tournament is 50 minutes long. That's been the standard for a while now. But the question will ask you maybe like, what's the minimum time limit? And is 50 minutes the minimum, or is there another recommended minimum? Is there a minimum time limit, or is it up to the TOs? Like, that's something that you're only going to be able to answer if you've actually read the document, and you won't be able to trust your skills as a competitive Magic player on.
So, I mean, this is probably a question you get asked a lot too, but what is your funny story? What is your funny judge moment that when people ask you about your best story or best judge call that you got, break it out, what is it?
So, like, there's obviously, like, a lot of fun moments that I've had. I've been a judge for a little over 6 years now. So, like, a lot of the best moments are just, like, not even at Magic tournaments. It's hanging out with friends, during a lunch break at a Grand Prix or at a staff after party. But there's one story in particular about Magic that's my favorite one. I was head judging a Legacy event a few years ago now, and it's a Chains of Mephistopheles question, obviously. But there's so much more to it. There was a brainstorm that a player wanted to cast in their upkeep. There was a Sylvan library in play. There was a Life from the Loam that they wanted to dredge in their graveyard. So, like, trying to keep track of all that with the chains in play is, like, hard enough, but then because of Sylvan Library, you need to track which cards have been drawn this turn, because Sylvan Library is worded super weirdly, so you need to, like, keep two separate hands of what was there and what's been drawn this turn. And because you're brainstorming, there's no way for the opponent to verify which cards were drawn this turn and which weren't, because Brainstorm, like, undoes any known information, essentially. So that was just like a nightmare judge call. It took 20, 30 minutes in order to get through this person's upkeep based on what they wanted to do. And then naturally the opponent, the player was at 6 life. The opponent untapped, played a Bloodbraid, cascaded into a Lightning Bolt, and killed them. So none of it mattered. But it's just like one of those stories that, like, if you really want to go deep into the rules about Chains of Mephistopheles and brainstorming and dredging, like, you can, and that's one of the things that being a judge will allow you to do, is, like, being able to have those discussions, figuring out the interactions of replacement effects and stuff like that. And shameless plug, I wrote an article about this interaction if you're curious, and DJ will link it in the show notes for you.
JJ will link it in the show notes.
Someone with a J will link it in the show notes.
But, like, it's also just, like, the most crazy convoluted scenario that they wouldn't even ask it on a judge test because it's never going to happen, and it obviously happened.
What is the most complicated thing we can possibly think of?
Right. This is very up there. So just the fact that it actually happened in a tournament, and, like, I was going into it with the mentality of, like, oh, it's Legacy. I've played Legacy before. Like, everything will be fine. And then obviously this happens. It was just a learning experience for sure.
So, Max, I know you said earlier that most judges, or that the judge program payment shifted so that people get paid in cash now just because of a lot of weird tax liability and stuff like that. But as a vendor, I'd experienced a lot of judges coming up to me with booster boxes and asking to sell them to me. So I assume that those must be part of the comp too, right?
Yeah, so compensation obviously has changed a lot, and it's different organizer by organizer. So Star City pays different from CFBE, and your local store will probably pay differently too. But I can shed a little bit of insight as to how Magic Fest CFBE pays their judges. So they get their choice of all cash or cash plus boxes.
And by
so
cash,
obviously
you mean like a paycheck, right?
Yeah, they don't hand you dollar bills.
Which would
That'd be cool, though.
It's like, yeah, we can't give you foils for tax purposes, so here's a wad of cash under the table.
I wish, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't?
So what they do is they basically have the option where you can take the boxes, or they will take the boxes that you were allocated and essentially buy them back from you and just give you the difference in cash. So they value each box at lower than market price to essentially incentivize the judges to take the boxes instead of taking the cash compensation, because obviously they get boxes at a different rate than your local game store does. So if they can pay judges partially in boxes, that's their benefit. So every judge can basically choose, like, do you want to take a box or do you want to take an extra $60? And that's each judge can make that decision for themselves. Like, if you can go home and say, oh, I can get $90 for a box, then definitely take the box. But if you're working 3 days and get 2 boxes each day, like, and you're flying to an event, are you going to be able to take a case through security or check it? Like that's the flip side of it. Like, do you want to have to manage that and be able to try to find sellers, or do you just want to take the quick cash? So each judge works that differently. But I'm sure that, like, if you know a judge that is going to judge at a Grand Prix and you're like, oh, I know that you get X dollars for your box, I'll play you X dollars plus 10, then most judges would be willing to do that if you just reach out to them ahead of time.
It's more than they get, it's less than you pay. It's kind of a win-win for everybody. Plus, they're more likely to take the cash if they don't think they can take the boxes back with them on the plane. So if you drove or you're local, that you can actually help them make more than they would, because they give you more boxes than they would have, a paycheck. So, like, everybody wins in that scenario.
And everybody has, like, the nightmare where they, like, take 3 booster boxes through security on a plane and they rip them all open because they're checking for something. And judges don't want to have to experience that, especially because, like, once a box is open, the value significantly decreases.
It's not a box anymore. It's a bunch of packs.
Yeah. So a lot of judges just like, I don't want to deal with the hassle. I'll take $60.
Have you heard of that happening to people?
I don't know if it's happened with sealed cases, but I definitely know that it's happened when people take, like, a single booster box in their carry-on.
Ooh, brutal.
And every time I go through security, I get deck checked, essentially. And I have to be like, oh, this is Magic the Gathering. They're like, oh, I played this game as a teenager. I'm like, yeah, it still exists.
I mean,
Josh Lee Coy had a story where he was going through security and he was taking his decks out, and the guy's like, I watch your show. I would like to get that big, where, like, TSA doesn't bother me.
Oh yeah, you're the Magic the Gathering nerd, right this way.
That's our goal for Brainstorm Brewery.
Or, like, when you're leaving a GP on, like, a Monday night and you go, like, through security and you're like, oh, like, they've seen hundreds of people with deck boxes already go through security, and they, like, see something come up in the scanner and it's just like, oh, it's just another nerd. Then they just let you through.
I had a miserable travel story when I think it was Calgary that I was flying to a few weeks ago. So normally my boss books me to fly Delta, and we were flying American this time, and I don't think that my TSA Precheck got through. So there's this big ass line to the left of me. I walk up to the Precheck thing, scan my ID, and he says, "Nope, you're on the wrong line over there." And I had a short discussion with him. I fly every few weeks. This is weird. I don't know why my TSA Precheck thing's not working. He said, yeah, well, it's not working. And he said, quote, sometimes it just don't work, which I thought was questionable. So I did the whole, the dreaded, can I speak to your manager? Or I said, is there anybody I can talk to about this? And he said, yeah, me, get in the other line.
Woo! Yeah. Woo! I've had the same thing. The one time that I needed to, like, switch terminals and go back through security while I was on a connection, of course, was the flight that I didn't have my pre-check booking through, and
yeah,
I missed my flight.
And a bit of Magic Finance travel advice for those of you who fly to a lot of GPs or are judges and go to a lot of GPs or just travel a lot in general. TSA Precheck is probably one of the best increments of $75 I have spent. It saves you a lot of time in the lines, especially if you frequent a busy airport. Syracuse isn't that busy, but I mean, the return flights and everything are a lot quicker. It's just $75, and then you go into the airport, you give them a background check or whatever, you do some ID shenanigans and just show them all your papers, and then they stamp you a card. They give you a little number that you input when you book your flight, and then you just get to sail past all the lines and everything. It is fantastic. And if you fly internationally a lot, I highly recommend that you get the global version, global entry, I think it's called. It's like $120 for the same duration, but you get to skip all the international customs and all the crazy lines, and it's just a very small amount of money compared to the amount of time that you save traveling.
Yeah, that's always a huge deal for me, is the pre-check. And I don't do a lot of international events, but, like, I did GP Vancouver this year, or last year, I guess, and getting to spend 5 minutes in customs instead of 50 minutes in customs was a lifesaver.
If you are trying to hijack or blow up an airplane, I recommend TSA Precheck. You don't have to wait in the line. They're not going to pat you down for box cutters. You're just going to be able to take your weapons and explosives onto the plane. For $75 to be able to
They will check you for magic cards.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
they're dense and they're, I don't know. Every time they're like, "Oh, we thought it was something dangerous." I'm like, "No, it's playing cards."
Like, who's trying to, like, what person's, like, just bringing plastic explosives on a plane anyway? Oh, I didn't know you could put it through the machine. Like,
The worst are, like, the binders, because they're just, like, big and dense. And every time I bring a binder through, it always gets flagged.
The deck boxes. Because the dice, too. They're just, like, little mini hand grenades, I guess, on their screens. I don't know.
Mm.
Or it could be because they're poorly trained. It's all theater. They're not really necessary, and they worked without being paid because that's how unimportant their job is. So, thank you very much, TSA, for making us all miss our flights, but not catching that guy who tried to blow up the plane with his shoe. You're doing a great job.
Come on, Jason. We have like 2 listeners who are TSA listeners.
Well,
and that's like half of our listeners.
Hey, man,
Come on,
if they're willing to work without being paid, they probably are broke, and they can't go to patreon.com/Brainstorm Brewery and give us as little as $1 a month, which works out to 20 or 25 cents an episode, because they're broke because they work for the TSA. They have
TSA is the Poland of Europe, and fucking.
They're the Poland of the airport.
I'm gonna get so many emails because of you.
From the TSA?
No, from listeners who are the TSA. So yes, from the TSA.
I didn't appreciate what they know. It's a worthless, terrible job. Like, listen, you know that, right? And you're mad because you failed at life, and now you work at an airport. You're not mad at me for pointing out how worthless your job is. You're mad at yourself for dropping out of college. So, like, hey, why don't you take that angry email and turn it into a pledge? Where you can go to patreon.com/Brainstorm Brewery. Give us $1 a month, which is only 20 or 25 cents an episode. And then in the Discord, you can tell me just how upset you were that I insulted.
Can we go back to the con jokes?
Just tell me in person on the Discord how upset you are that I shit on your terrible TSA job.
I don't know. It took us only 40 minutes to get to the Patreon pitch. So, like, he's really, like, chilling it a little bit today.
You know, for as little as $10 a month, which is $2 or $2.50 an episode, you could have one of these handsome drinking glasses. Or is it 20? I don't know. I just I send them out to the people that pay us. You could have one of these handsome drinking glasses, and if you try to take this on a plane, the TSA would be like, "Oh, what's that? It looks like a cone-shaped bomb," and then they would take it out and break it. So they're terrible. These glasses are great. These hoodies, the hoodie I'm wearing is great. You can get that at Teespring. We have a link to that in the show notes, and I don't know. Should I have been nicer to the TSA? Who knows? I'm not exactly pro ISIS per se, but like I'm not a fan of the TSA.
And that's how Jason didn't get TSA Precheck, everybody.
I'm not exactly pro ISIS, but is not something that, you know, I think they want to hear.
I didn't say I'm not exactly pro. Like, yeah, I'm not pro ISIS. What's so bad about saying I'm not pro ISIS?
But then it was the but.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not pro ISIS, and the TSA is worthless. There, is that better?
Yes, much better.
Yes.
Are you pro TSA though?
I'm pro TNA.
I don't even know what you mean by that acronym.
Oh, you're all so young. It's adorable. Prost. Thanks for being a patron, Patreons who went to patreon.com/Brainstorm Brewery. You're the best.
I miss... No, I don't miss Corbin. I take that back.
I miss Corbin.
Corbin is flying back from London, or he might be. I saw on a Twitter Moments newsfeed thing that he that there are a lot of flights being canceled around the world because of some sort of technical issue at the airports. I assume that one's not the TSA's fault. It's some...
Well, they weren't helping, did they? They weren't able to help expedite things.
I think the company's name was Sabre. And when I saw that, I thought it was a joke because that's the company from The Office that like buys Dunder Mifflin. I thought, oh, like it's some Office anniversary thing, and it's not. So,
yeah, that really was the second best show called The Office, wasn't it?
Do you not like the U.S. version of The Office, Jason?
No.
I actually don't really watch The Office either.
Well, it's not on anymore, so.
I'm pretty sure it's
still
something
there.
like the
It still
most
exists on the
popular show
internet.
on
It's
Netflix.
not gone
still.
forever.
I think Friends is the most popular show on Netflix. Because they're still paying millions to keep Friends on, but they're taking The Office off soon.
No, they just announced The Office is still like another 2 years. They renewed it.
Oh, really?
I mean, that's the only reason I watch Netflix anymore.
You
don't
pay
even watch
$10 a month, which is 20 or 25 cents an episode of The Office, to watch The Office?
Oh, it's definitely like 2 cents an episode. I get my value's worth.
Oh, boy.
I don't even use Netflix anymore. I'm on the Hulu train, man. You
Well, that's the one that you can watch live TV, right?
You combo your Hulu with Spotify, so you pay $10 a month for both Hulu and Spotify. And Hulu has all the new shows like The Orville, like AP Bio, like
AP Bio is trash.
What?
What?
Yeah, it's unwatchable.
You're unwatchable.
Whew.
Oof.
Ooh?
I hope you're listening to the audio version instead of watching my video then.
What do you have against Dennis from It's Always Sunny, who I can never remember his name?
Well, all the
Glenn
students look
Howerton.
like they're in their 30s.
What?
No, they don't. Just because you're a little baby and they're a year or two older than you.
Well, a year or two older than me is like 5 years out of high school. They can't realistically be in high school.
That's your problem with AP Bio.
Well, also,
The
there's
show's
no
hilarious, but that guy's probably not 19. He's probably
Well, that's
22.
like a huge pet peeve to me. Is like when there's these actors that are playing like high schoolers and they're like actually 29.
Well, guess
It's
what?
just
When
like,
you hire a fucking high schooler, you have to have an on-set tutor, and they can only work 4 hours at a time. It's a big pain in the ass to shoot with underage kids. That's why they do it, because of rules. Man, oh boy. Doesn't like AP Bio, loves The Office. Yikes.
Thanks, everyone. This was another episode of Brainstorm Brewery. We had to come to an abrupt end for some unknown technical issue that suddenly came up. Ba-ba-da-da, pick of the week.
Pick of the week, pick of the week, pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
Jason, what's your pick of the week?
That's how you're going to send us the pick of the week?
Yep, driving the bus.
You were driving the bus over a cliff.
That's fine.
You're going
No
over...
AP Bio means we all die together.
You're going over Corbin and then over the cliff.
Backed up over him and then continue.
For those who don't know, that was a reference to the Wifecast, which was just another non-episode thing we like to do. We have things called Brain Bites. We have things called the Wifecast, which we're releasing on YouTube this week. If you haven't checked out YouTube, youtube.com/Brainstorm Brewery is our channel. If you don't watch it, please just go and like and subscribe. Finger blast that bell icon. Just give us a little bit of support.
We just gave out a bunch of playmats this week.
Yep, we're doing a giveaway at 3,000 subs, and then 4,000, and then 5,000. We're just going to be doing some giveaways because we know what our download numbers are like, and we would like YouTube to be close to that. So just take 1 second to click on that and be like, hey, I'm subscribed to your YouTube, because we have a lot of offerings that aren't just necessarily the podcast episode. The Wifecast was one of them. That was a Patreon goal. Thanks for helping us hit that. And Corbin made a terrible joke about the running the bus over him, so I'm going to reference that till the end of time, because that was not good. But my pick of the week is good. I have a card that I think people are talking about brewing, both with Lavinia and the new Teferi. I think it's possible to build a modern deck out of that, with 4 copies of a card from Future Sight called Delay. You counterspell, then you remove it from the game and put counters on it, and then when the counters are all gone, you replay the spell. But if you have Teferi or Lavinia out, you can't actually do that. You can't play the spell. So I think Delay could get a bump. It's already a $5 card because it's an uncommon from Future Sight, and that was
Delay's
a long time
up to
ago.
$5 now?
Yeah.
Jesus.
So I think, obviously that goes up if it gets some attention. I think it's a $10 card, and I don't think people necessarily need to build a deck. I think if Saffron Olive, makes a video about it, it's a $10 card overnight. And you'll want to buy them at $5, sell them at $10, because we're seeing cards like Celestial Kieran crash already. because no one actually built that nonsense. They just bought the cards. So I think Delay is probably the next card to get that sort of meme deck value, and I need a ballsy pick every once in a while. I've been doing safe EDH crap for too long. I'm going to make a ballsy pick based on reading the tea leaves of what the next ridiculous meme thing is, and I think Delay is it.
Fair enough. I've got I don't know if it's a ballsy pick, because it's kind of a bulk mythic, or close to a bulk mythic, but it's got a little bit of fun interactions with a new uncommon from War the Spark that a lot of people are talking about, and that is the new Ashiok. Ashiok ruins your day in Commander. She is miserable to play against already. She comes back with Sun Titan. She gets rid of a lot of cards, throws them into permanent exile.
Mills your graveyard.
Ashiok just ruins your day. And this is a card I have played in Gonti
before. Is Ashiok Aetherborn?
No.
Okay.
Ashiok was confirmed not Aetherborn.
All right.
They are some sort of nightmare dream eater monster human thing.
That's cool.
And their voiceover on Arena is really creepy. But my pick of the week is Oblivion Sower. I love doing this in Gonti, where I Bazooka Bog somebody, or I Hedonist Trove somebody, get all those lands in the exile pile, slap down an Oblivion Sower, and yummy, I get to take all those lands, so that Omnath deck, maybe I stole a Rampaging Balance at some point, maybe I've got some sort of land sacrifice engine going on. Oblivion Sower just steals all lands from exile, not just the ones that it exiled when it hit the top 4 of target opponent's library. So if you Ashiok a few people and it's relatively mid-late in the game, you are going to Oblivion Sower somebody and take a lot of lands. And this is a card that has trended upward about 15 or 20% or so over the past several months.
Oblivion Sower was in the precon, or the dual deck, right?
It did have a dual deck printing. That art is awful, in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
I don't think a lot of people like that art.
It was Avenger and Oblivion Sower, correct?
Yes.
Zendikar versus Eldrazi or something.
Yes. But that is the only other printing this card has. It's not in a commander deck yet.
Right.
It's not in Conspiracy or any other wacky product like that. It is just Battle for Zendikar, and that set is 4 years old. So I think Oblivion Sower is safe. I think you can pick them up in the bulk binders if you see it in a 50-cent bin. I think it's fine. It interacts really well with the Exile pile, which is a not very used mechanic, so there might still be design space left when they go to a new plane after this. You might see some wacky interactions with the Exile zone. But for now, you can Ashiok, Bazooka Bog the whole table, and steal a bunch of lands for $1.
Woo! Are you telling people to pick up only the BFZ one, or is the dual deck one fine too?
I mean, if you have a good aesthetic and you appreciate good art, I say pick up the BFZ one. If you're just a meatball like Corbin, pick up the dual deck one.
Hey, now Meatballs are gonna write in, and people from Italy are gonna write in. He's like, "Hey, I don't appreciate you denigrating the meatballs," because that's how they talk. Because Italy is definitely Europe's Honduras.
Are you basing that off the murder rate, or are you just winging it here?
You know, I'm just going to drink a beer while you think about that. Max, you got a pick of the week?
Yeah, sure do. My pick of the week is a card from Ravnica Allegiance, pre-ordered for about $8 to $10, but quickly fell to about $2, and it's stayed steady ever since. It is not Thief of Sanity.
Oh.
Dream Eater?
It is Deputy of Detention. The card isn't being opened anymore because we just switched this week to War of the Spark draft instead of Ravnica Allegiance draft. It had a pretty good weekend at the Mythic Championship last weekend. I was seeing play in the Humans decks, a couple of the Spirits decks that were there, and in any Birthing Pod deck or Collected Company deck, you're going to see a copy or two.
Birthing Pod!
Yeah, it started at $8, $10. Now it's down to $2.50, and I think it's got some upside.
Well, there are 2 cards above $15 in that set, and everything else is like 5 or below. So I think if Hydroid Crassus doesn't maintain its current crazy pace, and if Kaya is sort of upstaged by some of the other Planeswalkers, I kind of think that there's some room for something in that set to grow, certainly. So
yeah, and
the
Crassus
EV
isn't the
on
kind of
the
card.
set's pretty low right now.
Crisis isn't the kind of card that's going to hold value post-rotation. It doesn't really see play in any other formats. Maybe EDH. I don't really play that format. But Deputy Detention definitely has legs in Modern. We've seen it this weekend, and we'll continue to see it in the future.
Yeah, I think you could track the price of something like Spell Queller, which is a multicolor role player in one specific or two specific decks. And Spell Queller definitely hit a couple dollars at some point, and then it slowly rose to 5 or 6. So this could follow the same trend. Especially if it does actually find a deck in Standard at some point over the next year and a half.
I mean, it's
who's played. There's those mono white aggro decks that just play like 8 dual lands and some deputies in the sideboard.
Yeah, it's like mono white aggro, but they play it. They name it Azorius aggro on coverage. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's because Corbin names a deck on coverage. That's why.
Yep.
Well, but I'm looking at the play of it, and like I feel like most of the demand right now is coming from like last weekend. Most of the successful deck lists were playing 4 deputies in Modern Humans, even though the card is not a human itself. I think it's a Vidalcan wizard or something.
Yep.
But that just goes to show how powerful it is that it's being played in the humans deck, and it's the only non-human.
Sounds good. So, I mean, I think the last thing that we technically have to talk about, or else the ghost of Corbin will haunt us forever, is the fact that there was an event in London this past weekend. It was the second Mythic Championship, or the third, or the fourth, or the fifth. I guess it really depends on what the Twitter handle was feeling that day. But it was a Modern event that used the new London Mulligan rule. I don't really think that this has a ton of impact on finance. I mean, a lot of the cards that revolve around combo decks or more efficient streamlined beeline strategies like Serum Powder or Pull from Eternity already went up. But there was technically an event this past weekend.
And everything that I heard about the Mulligan was that it was super good for limited. I don't know about, obviously, like I don't have any inside information about whether or not they're going to eventually choose to adopt this, or they're going to revert back to the Vancouver Mulligan or go with something completely different. But I heard it was really good for limited, and Modern it has some unfortunate consequences of making Tron better, but I feel like Tron was borderline anyway, so that if it is ban-worthy, I don't think this pushes it over it. And if it's not, then this doesn't do anything to change that.
I wonder if people will start using the London Mulligan in Commander, because I had somebody ask if I wanted to use the London Mulligan on Friday night in Commander.
Wasn't Commander just like free mulligans anyway?
I agree. That's what I told him. I just said, just take 7 cards. I don't want to deal with this. It's like 10 at night.
Yeah, man, I'm just trying to drink a beer. Just like take a hand.
Also, your commander can be Grenzo, and then you London Mulligan something to the bottom, and then you know what it is.
That's next level. That is pretty next level. Oh, you could buy cellar doors. There we go. We found something. That hasn't spiked yet.
Buy, sell, or doors? What's that third option? Doors? That doesn't make sense.
Cellar door is that Innistrad uncommon, yeah?
Yep.
Buy, sell, or doors has to be the name of the episode, by the way. Just
we can just talk about AP Bio. That would be a good episode name.
It would be a good episode name because it's a good show, and you're wrong, and you're basic, and I hate you.
Is that the only reason you don't like the show?
I didn't. So I've seen like 3 or 4 episodes of it, and it just felt like it was a glorified kids show. Like, it's about high school, but the audience that they're trying to appeal to is both high schoolers and adults, and I didn't really get what it was going for. Who would think it was funny? Because I feel like it didn't really make sense to me. And I feel like I would be in the target market, but maybe I'm wrong.
Have you seen the Orville?
No?
The Orville's great.
Are these cable shows? I'm a college student. I don't have cable.
It's on Hulu. Hulu's better value than Netflix.
They're on. Those are basic network shows. The Orville's on Fox and AP Bio's on NBC.
Exactly. I don't have like network television.
How do you
pay for your own Netflix? Nobody pays for their own Netflix.
No,
but do you
obviously not.
I pay for my own Netflix. I'm a fucking dad. I have to pay for my own Netflix.
Hulu is $10 a month, and you get Spotify with it.
Fuck Spotify. You know what I have?
Spotify,
I have
Jason.
You know what I have? I pay $4 a month for the PBS Kids Network, so my daughter can watch Daniel Tiger because he sings a song that taught her not to piss in her fucking pants, and I will pay $4 a month to teach my daughter not to piss in her underwear because she's like, I gotta go potty, but this Play-Doh is so interesting.
But Jason, would you pay $1 a month to join the Brainstorm Brewery Patreon?
I wouldn't. I think you should because you're all nerds. These listeners, I think they're all nerds. I think they should do it. I think if you paid $1 to enter the Discord, you would be like, oh, I wish I'd done this sooner. That's what I think. I think everyone who's not a member of our Patreon who paid $1 for a Discord would be like, oh, I'm fucking up. I should have been doing this all along. But
it is severely underpriced.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're
so
right.
your pick of the week is the Brainstorm Brewery Patreon.
That's his pick of the every week.
That's my pick of the every week. And plus, once we get to $3,000, Corbin's going to have to wear a merfolk suit and go swimming. And I think that's hilarious.
He might drown.
Yeah. Corbin could die. That's amazing value. What if he died?
Does Corbin swim?
We'll find out.
Look at him. Have you seen Corbin?
Right, that's why I'm asking.
He does not have a swimmer's physique.
Well, thank you everyone for listening to Brainstorm Brewery. This was another brilliant Corbin-less episode where I got to drive the bus, and it has been a pleasure. Thank you, Max, for coming on. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate getting to do this.
So, you said you wrote an article. What website was that on? Is that something you write for frequently? Just where in general in the Twitterverse or anywhere in the internet can people find you if they want to hit you up for judge questions?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter. I'm MaxPlaysMTG. Super easy. I also run #PocketJudge on Twitter. So if you ever have a rules question that you're playing in your Commander game or you're at a local game store, you tweet with #PocketJudge. I've got notifications turned on. I'll try to answer you as soon as possible. Use that hashtag, or you can tag me. That works too. And I try to respond quickly, but no promises. I'm also the manager of the Nerd Rage Gaming Championship Series, the second largest independent tournament series in the United States behind the SCG Tour. So if you're ever in the Midwest and you want to play some competitive high-level Magic, check us out at nerdragegaming.com. That's where I write my articles too. My articles lately have been more tournament organizing stuff, but I've definitely written some pieces about Legacy and rules interactions, so check out that article there. So Twitter and nerdragegaming.com.
Cool. And Jason, where can people find you when you're not 2 beers deep?
I'm at Jason E. Alt on Twitter. I have a pinned post at the top of my Twitter account that says all the other stuff I do, which includes my movie podcast that I do on the They Said We Said network called Director's Cut, which I think everyone will like if you're interested in hearing me say not magic stuff. If you like my magic stuff, I write for Cool Stuff Inc., formerly Gathering Magic, and I write for MTG Price, where I write brilliant MTG Finance articles about EDH finance. You should definitely check all the stuff I do out because I'm great. And you obviously think so because you're listening to my podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
And this is Douglas Johnson. Everybody calls me DJ. You can find me at Rose of Thorns on Twitter. You can find me at most of the North American GPs this year. I won't be in Dallas, and I won't be in Seattle, but everyone else I will be in. I'm at the 95 MTG booth. I am a buyer. Come sell me cards. And that is about it. You can find me on this YouTube channel too, where I'm doing brain bites and other wacky antics and making my co-host swim in a electric infested lake. So
go to patreon.com/Brainstorm Brewery. Give us $1. Get us closer to that goal. We want Corbin to drown.
Or be electrocuted. Or both.
Or
Have
neither?
a good night, everybody.
Hey, Max.
Bye.
Yeah.
What's your favorite 18th century German philosopher?
Is it Immanuel Kant?
No.